Hello once again, Niner Faithful, and welcome back to another episode of 49ers Playbook on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game. This past Sunday, the 49ers lost in frustrating fashion to the Minnesota Vikings. On offense, Purdy and the 49ers weren't able to gather a rhythm until the fourth quarter. Give credit to Brian Flores and the job he did to keep everything off balance, but there were far too many mistakes. On defense, new defensive coordinator Nick Sorensen will have his hands full straightening out all the mistakes and miscues and blown assignments on this game. Settle in, faithful. This one is tough medicine, but will hopefully give us a good gauge of how far the team can and should improve from here. Let's jump to the film and see what the 49ers need to do to avoid a repeat performance against the Rams this week. You're watching Johnny Dell's Football Academy. Early on, we saw Brock Purdy just wasn't comfortable in getting the looks they were expecting. It's third down, and a lot of times Flores will bring a lot of different blitzes and play different forms of zone behind it. We're going to have Ayuk on a rail route, and then have Debo and Jennings with a switch release to a couple curl routes. They're trying to run interference for Debo. On the other side, Kittle is on a go route, and Jordan Mason on a check and release. First, the switch release creates no rub, so credit Minnesota for keeping good depth stagger. Second, Purdy feels pressure but is locked onto Debo the whole way. He's got to progress, step up in the pocket. If he steps up, he'd find Jordan Mason, whose guy thought he was trying to stay in a block and totally busted his assignment, or even seen that George Kittle's man fell down. What could have been a game-breaking play is an incomplete pass that brings up fourth down. The second drive of the game starts out well. On the second play of the game, we had a short pass to Ayuk for only 1 yard when the Vikings went with a 3-deep, 2 underneath zone blitz. It's really a run blitz, and we didn't take advantage, but here we get it with a smash concept with a corner route paired with a quick out, and the corner route runs off the deep third corner, and you get George Kittle for a big gain. So one thing I'll start highlighting, and hopefully this won't make the video too long, but I'm going to show what Flores and the defense were doing to make life hard on Purdy. So here they're showing a single safety with a man coverage look. Gilmore is up top, Bennett is down in coverage on Juice, and Harrison Smith is lurking. Then at the snap, they back out into Tampa 2 zone. We get a good gain on the play, but keep this in mind as we go. You're going to see a lot of different looks here. After a real sloppy run, it's 3rd and 5, so now we have Debo in the backfield, motion him out, and their safety, 24, is on Debo with Harrison Smith now up on the end of the line, with both linebackers mugging the A-gap in a cover 0 look. We're going to run the classic drift weak. We're going to run Jennings on a streak down the seam, then Ayuk on a 7-step in route that will sit into space, with Bell running an over route. The progression is really 1 to 2, Ayuk to Bell. At the snap, the Vikings drop out into Tampa 2. Now this isn't a normal dropout. They have a slot corner and an outside corner, Gilmore, playing deep halves. Harrison Smith playing a cloud, and it's in Tampa 2 zone. Note that Metellus Bennett is playing as the Mike. That's a lot for a quarterback to digest that these guys aren't playing man, and that's zone. There were no pre-snap clues, and your normal tells your safeties are playing different zones from each other, all in a traditional zone defense. The whole process just gets to Purdy. By the time he recognizes that it's corners playing as a split safeties, the pressure is there. He really did have Jennings early on for a big gain, but the pressure and the change forces a bad pass late in the down. Really, he needed to stick with his number 1 on the play, Ayuk. It would have been there. It then leads to the first big mistake of the game, a blocked punt. So this is something teams are going to do unless we figure this out. The way this is supposed to be blocked, Odom has the first threat inside, Beal the second threat, Flanagan Fowles the third threat, and Curtis Robinson the fourth. Where the breakdown comes in is how they account for number 26, Jackson. He starts out as the number 2 threat, Beal's man, but late will loop outside, becoming the 4th threat and bumping the original 4 and 3 to 3 and 2. That's a lot, but that means that Robert Beal needs to transition from accounting for Jackson to number 30. Fowles will pick up 6, and Robinson will pick up Jackson, number 26. Beal doesn't recognize it, and 30 is let free through the line to block the punt and change the game. I know after this game, a lot of people have been saying the defense played well enough and it was on the offense. The offense had issues. We'll talk more about that. But the defense gave up 23 points against an offense and quarterback who did things like this. Thankfully, the defense did hold the Vikings to only 3 points off the blocked punt, but it gave the Vikings some data to use later. So we're showing combo man and zone coverage. You have Mooney Ward up top on the tight end, Jair Brown on the inside, and Odom as a single safety. At the snap, you'll see we're in man coverage, so Brown is tasked with covering Naylor, their wide receiver, in man. He gets absolutely cooked, but because they had Odom helping in a lurk roll over the 3 receiver side, he's able to break up the pass to prevent the touchdown. But keep this look in mind. Then back on offense, you have more issues. First, there's a short return with a holding penalty, then a false start that sets the offense back. We get a conversion on 3rd down, one of the few in the game, but it's still a tight throw. Note though, they show Harrison as a deep safety and bring a sim pressure with Bennett coming on a blitz and dropping out the edge player, 43, into coverage. So while CMC is rehabbing, I think the 49ers need to bring in a veteran running back. Maybe Matt Breida, who was with the team in camp. They tried Garendo here, and he doesn't read this well at all. This is our outside zone, the bread and butter, and he just needs to not make a cut. It's blocked well for the edge, hit it, and go. So after the bad run, we're going to try and run a play. We run a lot, and we did early in the game. So Kyle Shanahan mentioned this play in his conference call. We're going to run a variation off of a play we run a lot. Normally we'll run a spot concept to the 4 receiver side with a spot route, a corner route, and a flat route with a swing pass blocker. On the backside, sometimes we run a slant, sometimes we run a branch route, which is an 8-yard out route. We ran a stick route on this same look early in the game with Ayuk running the out. This time we have Ayuk in to run what would normally be a spot route, and Kittle where the slant or out route should be. I can't say for certain if Kittle should be running an out route or more of a short post, but he's definitely not supposed to be running a slant. Harrison Smith had been lurking on that side in the hook area, so I'm pretty sure they want Kittle on a short post to draw Smith. And Ayuk, instead of a spot route, which would sit down inside the hash, he's on a shallow crossing route. It's a nice variation as the defender is going to expect Ayuk to sit down, and you'd get one side cleared out with Ayuk running free to the other side. If it had worked, it would have been an explosive play. The problem though was Kittle didn't get enough depth on his route and push Smith deeper. Instead, he's lurking, and the way the shallow crossing route is coached is to sit down versus a zone player waiting. You can see Purdy wants to throw it to Ayuk and is expecting him to keep on the move and has to pull it down when things break down. This puts the team really backed up, and the Vikings next come out and show man with a single safety, then drop with a 4 deep, 1 underneath blitz. This is the stuff that makes the Vikings so different. You never see this kind of stuff. 6-man pressures are almost always straight man, but not Flores. Purdy has to get it out hot, and Kittle just can't quite pick up the first down. We do get a great 4th down conversion though with a pinpoint throw. Notice though, the Vikings are going man coverage with 2 middle lurk players in an 8-man coverage. So we've beat the man coverage a few times, so the Vikings are about to change some things up. We end up not getting a touchdown and a turnover on downs, though we did have opportunities. We're running our slide concept, and Purdy has Ayuk. If he throws it a tad sooner, or gets a little more on it, or even a little more accurately, this is a touchdown. These two have had 2 big opportunities for touchdowns, and they just have not been able to connect. This is why you need to be in camp. We're then going with our wide zone, and this is on Banks. Our wide zone is all about lateral movement. Those linemen have to take 3 steps down the line first. He gets too vertical too soon and isn't able to cut off the linebacker who slips in. And this is stuff he knows. He's been in the system. Mistakes in technique like this are inexcusable in these situations. If he makes his block, it's 7 points and the game is totally different. You then go for it on 4th down, and you get a great matchup. You have Jauan Jennings on Harrison Smith in man coverage. Trent has got to. He's got to get the defensive ends hands down. I do understand the criticisms of Kyle. This is hard though when you have 3 out of 4 plays down in the red zone be purely execution errors. All 3 of these players missed extensive time in training camp. So then, after the failed 4th down, we give the longest play on defense in 49ers history. Remember how I talked about that big stop at the goal line for the defense? Well, here, we're showing zone coverage again with Lenore up top on a tight end and Odom over Justin Jefferson and no one traveling with the tight end in motion. What we're actually going to come with is bring Fred Warner on a blitz, and they're trying to force a negative play and maybe score on defense. They'll be in clamp coverage on Jefferson, so Odom will maintain outside and deep leverage on Jefferson, and Brown will cover anything crossing the middle and to the inside. Jefferson is running a corner post route. Brown thinks his stem is for a high crossing route and sits flat-footed, giving Jefferson daylight deep. And this is a heck of a throw by Darnold, but you can't. You cannot let the offense get behind you. That's a player guessing wrong on a route and not staying disciplined. I will say this, that ref has got some wheels. Somebody needs to sign this man now. So after all of this, what should be 7-3 49ers and their offense with the ball, it is now 10-0 Vikings. So I'm just going to point out some of these games Flores was playing, so again we can understand what he was putting Purdy through. Here the Vikings are showing single high pre-snap, we motion, and you'll see Metellus Bennett, a linebacker, drop late into a 2-high shell. Then post-snap they'll drop again into cover 3 zone, with Bennett, a linebacker, as your deep safety. If we wind this back though, we're running Ayuk down the seam, then Debo on a dig or Dover route. Again, you've got to be in camp. Ayuk gets bumped off his route and is late down the seam. He's got to get vertical and threaten Bennett so the throw can be wide open for Debo and Debo can get a catch and run, or really, Purdy can see Bennett sitting on Debo's route and hit Ayuk for a touchdown. Then you go for it on 4th down a few plays later and you have this debacle. So again, you've got to be in camp. The play won't matter because even if they converted it, Brandon Ayuk was flagged for an illegal shift because he has to be completely set before the ball is snapped. The Vikings show this heavy pressure and again back out into Tampa 2 zone. We have a couple good options, a smash concept, which is a cover 2 beater, and a levels concept, and probably have Debo open as well, but the pressure got there immediately. And up to this point, Dominic Puni has been stellar, but he gets worked right here and gives up immediate pressure. Purdy tries to get it with his legs, but is stopped just short. And this is just so many levels of not good. We do get a scoring drive going to bring the game back close, but again, the work Flores was putting out there is really impressive. So here it's 1st down, they're showing single high man, like we'd seen on several plays already. Right before the snap, Harrison Smith drops deep into a 2-high shell. Purdy then checks the play at the line. Then you see the Vikings check their play and look like they're going all-out blitz. Then they drop out again and it's Tampa 2 zone. Gilmore is a deep half safety along with Bynum, and Pace, a different linebacker, is the Mike. We're seeing multiple different iterations of Tampa 2 from multiple different looks and checks with different players playing in different spots. This makes it so hard for a quarterback to get key reads. And I know what your thought is. Why doesn't everybody do this? Well, you have to have the right players, and this takes a lot of time to put this stuff in. Flores has been putting this in for a while, and they've taken some lumps along the way doing it. Purdy still gets a big gain against it because now he's seen this look and the shift before. Back on defense, some things are just hard to excuse. The Vikings are just running an inside run, and Mooney Ward is the outside force defender. He's the last line of defense outside. He tries to get in on somebody else's job, and when the running back bounces it, he's not there, and it's a huge gain. But Fred Warner keeps the game close with a ridiculous play. So the Vikings are trying to fake a wide receiver screen here. They want this to look like they're running a screen, get Fred Warner to attack it, then hit a post route. Sorensen is running a Vic Fangio staple that Wilkes ran a lot last year. That's cover 4 tricks. Something I'm about to drop a teaching video for on my members website, jfa49.com. So let me take a second to stop and thank all of our members of jfa49.com who make videos like this possible. Our coaching staff are the heart and soul of this channel, and their direct support is invaluable to be able to produce these weekly videos. If you would, head on over to jfa49.com where you can become a member and support content like this and also get access to some deep dives into scheme. But like I said, this is cover 4 tricks and Fred reads this beautifully. Doesn't attack too hard, eyes on Darnold, and follows it to the ball and makes a diving interception. Warner is playing out of his mind right now. So now you're going to see the start of a running theme. Again, the Vikings are giving this muddy look pre-snap. Right at the snap, they're going to bring a blitz and play a 2-deep fire zone behind it. We've got a smash concept at the bottom and a scissors concept up top. Purdy wants the scissors. You should be able to clear out the deep safety and then hit the inbreaker. I'm not sure why he turns this down, but he does manage to scramble and make something out of it. I do want to point out Jordan Mason here. He really struggled in pass protection up to this point in his career, but this is a phenomenal blitz pickup. So after a couple poor plays, including a negative run, it's 3rd and 12. and we're running a Hooters concept. You get a basic route paired with a stick route. The Vikings again come with a 2-deep fire zone, and just get to Purdy before Ayuk's route really comes open. From the end zone, again, Pooney and Brendel do not handle the stunt well, and it ends in a sack on Purdy. So back on defense, before the half, we're going to see some more breakdown. We're in our staple coverage, cover 3 zone, and this is supposed to be what we're best at. So the Vikings are running an Ohio concept at the top, paired with a follow concept over the middle, with 2 basic routes. The idea is to put the defense in a horizontal stretch. The way our coverage rules work, Mustafa, who's the curl flat defender, should take the quick out. Campbell should drop and pick up the first basic route. Mooney Ward match the second basic route, and Fred Warner pick up the running back on the short in. But the 2 new guys, Mustafa and Campbell, don't get their assignments square, and it leaves a big opening and the Vikings get a chunk gain. Then, after a sack by Nick Bosa, we give up a big 3rd and long conversion for a first down. This one is again on the rookie, Mustafa. So we're showing 2 high pre-snap. The Vikings are going to bring a man in motion, which does change the strength, and are going to run double smash concepts, which are good against cover 2, and have Justin Jefferson on a through route. Post-snap, the 49ers are dropping in cover 3 buzz, with Mustafa being the weak side hook defender. As the weak side hook, he's going to be responsible for picking up the number 3 receiver on routes with depth crossing the field. I'm not sure where his eyes are. It should be cross-keying to Jefferson the whole way, but he's late to his spot and it's just too easy. It's one thing when the offense just beats you with play call. It's another when you have just blown assignments. And then you just can't make it this easy to get yards. We're in cover 2 man, and when that happens, it's really important for the rush to understand you don't have backup. Everyone is in man coverage and will have their backs turned. They're not going to be there to get the quarterback if he runs. We normally use a plugger roll where one of the defensive tackles will slant towards the center to occupy 2 linemen, create one-on-ones, and then spy the quarterback. But that doesn't happen here. They double chip on Bosa and Floyd, and then when Floyd tries to work back down, he gets blasted and there's no one there. It's as easy a 20-yard gain as you're going to allow. This stuff isn't excusable. A 58-yard field goal try becomes a 38-yard field goal try. And I know this video is a lot, but there are so many times in here where they had opportunities. We come out of the half and we throw a bad pick. This one is all on Brock. So we're running double digs here and have Debo out in the flat with Juice on a snag route. Like we saw earlier, they show single high pre-snap, post-snap are dropping into 2 high fire zone. I'm not sure why Brock turns down the digs. I think either one could be open to the middle of the field. Instead, he reads the single receiver side, then works to the 3 and is late. You can't be late. Normally, Brock moves as quickly through his reads as anyone in the league, but you can't be late here. The backside hook player just read his eyes and jumped the play. And that's a heck of a job by him, but I still don't understand why he turned down Ayuk. Then we immediately give up a touchdown after the pick. The Vikings first bring a tight end on a shift, and you see Jair Brown come down. Then Naylor shifts, and you can see Ward and Brown working it out. He then shifts again inside the tight end. This is changing the run fits. Ward will now be an inside run fit, and Brown the force defender on the outside. Minnesota is then going to go hard play action and have Naylor on a corner route. Mooney Ward gets dirty eyes and bites the cheese for an easy touchdown. Then back on offense, 2 back-to-back really negative plays. So we started in a bunch and motion Bell out late, and we'll have an Ohio or Tony concept with a protection release fade paired with a Tony route, and Saubert on an over route. On the other side, we have Ayuk and Mason on a smash concept. The Vikings are going to bring pressure and end up in something I've really never seen, a quarters half fire zone. Minnesota covers the Tony well. Brock works the Saubert as the number 3, that's covered, and wants to get to the backside, but the protection didn't allow time, and a surprising sack given up by Trent Williams. If we look at it from the end zone, this is about as bad of a job as they can do handling this stunt. Brock then has the ball come out of his hands for a fumbleception. Scheme-wise, what Minnesota does here is really different. It's just a lot to get into all of it, but it is very, very odd. And even if Brock hadn't had the ball come out of his hands, Harrison Smith probably does still intercept this ball. What really keeps the game from being a runaway is Fred Warner being an alien and forcing a fumble at the goal line. This really did turn the game as the 49ers were able to put up 10 points in the fourth quarter. But on second and long, we give up a big pass play that allows the Vikings to get into field goal range late in the fourth quarter to make it a 2-score game that just put it too far out of reach. So we're going to bring in Renardo Green and have Yadam and Lenore as the 2 inside defensive backs. The Vikings put Trent Sherfield in motion and Yadam travels. This changes responsibilities as the strength changes. It gives a man look, but we're dropping in Tampa 2 zone. As we've seen the Vikings do, different guys moved around and played a lot of different zones. Here, Yadam shades to the 3 receiver side as the Mike, who's responsible for matching the number 3 down the middle of the field in Tampa, but gets himself turned around. It's the little things. That's the difference between really tight coverage and not. And in the NFL, you can't have margins that wide. This is a great throw by Sam Darnold, maybe his best pure throw of the day, but this coverage should also be tighter. In the end, it was a really frustrating day for the 49ers. So many mistakes and miscues on both sides of the ball. The bright side is, even with all the mistakes, and as you saw there were so many, the team was still only 1 score away late in the game, and history has shown this is nowhere close to their level of execution and play that they normally have. So it's a game to take the medicine, learn the hard lessons, regroup, and go beat up on a depleted Rams team. The team should be able to weather the injury storm of the early part of the season, but has to execute well on both sides of the ball. The margin of error just got smaller. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to hit the notifications bell to be alerted to when a video goes live. But until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and go Niners.